With you, I do have a history of trauma and not really being present about myself and my own needs. And the more I went to your weekly classes, the more I started to feel things. And I did the movements or the poses, but it was much more than that, because I always thought, oh, I will never be able to do something like that. I don't know my left from my right, and I just will never understand. But I just had a feeling of comfort when I was in the class. They were small, they were intimate, and I would do the moves. And there was no expectation from you as teacher. You simply, you were teacher, but you did it in a way that it was not pushy. You never interfered with, you watched us carefully, and if need be, would help. But I just felt that I was well taken care of, but you did not overlook at me. So I felt the freedom, because you didn't, to just do what I needed to do, which meant that it didn't have to be perfect. And of course, you would be speaking as we would do the yoga, and you would often say, yoga is not about perfection. It's about being where you are. It's a process. You're beautiful where you are. And I will tell this to everyone, that I made the connection to my body. And I must say that I had a very frail connection with it. And when I did, the first thing I noticed, of course, because you don't really know you're making the connection, but I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I thought, wow, your body, I looked at, you're looking good. And, but I felt good. And people were commenting, gee, you're looking good. But I was thinking, okay, I'll take that. But I was feeling good. Yeah. And I wasn't self-conscious. And then I started to pay more attention to the things that you said. And you did not command us to pay attention. It was just something that happened in the most natural way. It was integral or integrated into the movement, was your voice and your teaching. There was no separation, and it became like one. And we could be who we are. And I think that was the energy that you gave out. And maybe that's what made you so special, the belief in us that we need to be who we are. I think I really, really like that class, because very often if you're going to talk philosophy, it'll, or you will talk movement, and you're going to use your voice, which you did in teaching us about the philosophy as we were moving, but it was somehow, there was an integration. It didn't feel like this was philosophy and this was movement. There was a very strong feeling that it was the same. So I had that feeling. So that philosophy became for me a very visceral experience. And here I am loving to read philosophy, and it was much more of a cerebral experience. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't even understand how that could be. I would say that is the magic of your teaching, because it isn't separate, nothing's separate. And the body and the mind and the spirit are connected. And I watched you, and one thing about you as a teacher, when you do your poses, you do it with such grace. And I felt like a child in one class. and in the best sense of the word. And I was looking at you and I was thinking, oh, I want to move with grace. I want to be graceful. And I felt so childlike, like I was a little girl, and how I wanted to be graceful. And because there's such a beauty in the movement of yoga. It's a gracefulness, a flow, a fluidity. And so I started to watch you and be playful with experimenting with my own sense of being graceful. Even though I was awkward and I couldn't do it, it didn't matter. And that's when I really felt connected to my body. I always want to say, and I think I've said it to you, Pam, there's a sense of grace that comes forth from you, and you impart it, you give it to us. When I thought of my own body, and I always thought of the word awkward, and sometimes I think of grace as being, in the best sense of the word, you can allow yourself to be awkward because it's a process, and life is awkward, and that's what makes it beautiful. Even the awkward movements, that as time goes by, maybe they won't be as awkward, but they'll begin to flow. And that's when I made friends with my body. So it's been a process, but I think in that Wednesday night class, I really, really felt it. And I would go home and I would feel really, really good. And then I started to feel real feelings. And yoga is very, very powerful. And it will, if you allow yourself to be open to its learnings through a good teacher, it will open parts that have been closed without, I didn't plan that. It was like a surprise. But I felt safe enough to explore what are those feelings. And as I opened to my own gracefulness, there was a sadness because I had wished, oh, if only I could have felt this way years and years and years before. If only I could be young again. And then I realized when I come, I feel young. Yeah. I feel absolutely ageless. And always when I come to your classes, I feel like the best part of what it means to be a child, something that I never really experienced. And I don't feel any judgment ever from you. And the people are so just comfortable. You know, there's a sense of camaraderie, but there's also a sense of boundary because everybody is deep into their own learning, but aware of others that are also learning. And I think that gives it a wonderful synergy together, but not something that's forced, just very natural. And then you can take that natural feeling and try to apply it to everyday life. And that's what I'm working on.
Thank you, Sue.
That's what I'm working on now. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you, Pam. Thank you.